Focus. All right. Click the links for Odyssey. Bit Chute. Join the channel, become a value member, support channel on Coffee. There's other links. There's Telegram, Gab, and all that other kind of stuff. So this is from Critical Blast's website, and this is a couple years old, about the Stephanie Cook issue of she allegedly got involved in some financial shenanigans. Everyone deserves due process, but it's just something that's kind of out there. And she's on Twitter, and she was talked about a few times over the years, the Whisper Network and all this kind of bizarre behind the scenes stuff, trying to control an industry. And the main crux of all this is if you're in comics in any regard, an independent seller, on the left or the right, you really got to focus on the customer. Period. Respecting the customer, and that will get you a long way if you just kind of remember that concept. And then the second thing is you got to focus on the new industry is not an externality industry of you write this product and you hand it over to a publisher, and the publisher does everything for you. That has changed over the past 20 years. The new industry is, yes, there are people who go that way, and you have to get their attention, and you have to have something, and it's got to be really polished, and it's got to be timely, and it's got to be what they want. But you're less important, or in the old days, you were less important than the product itself, and it was on the publisher to blow it up. And now things have slowly shifted with social media. It's like, oh, well, not only can you be your own publisher, but you can be your own publicist. By that, it's a little bit different. You can, if you have a big enough social media following, and the following is of the type who is somewhat interested in buying this product, it's like, yeah, the publisher can make a lot of that work for you, just depending on how big your social media following is. But then the next step is, or you could just go around the publisher. Like if you legitimately have a lot of followers and you have a product that they're marginally, somewhat tangentially interested in, then yeah, you can go to a publisher and they'll do everything for you, or you can go to comicsgate model, or a lot of other SJWs or people on the left are also looking at this model, like that Zoop guy. I don't know, is that Ron Mars, Richard Pace? There's that, and there's like people are selling stuff on Amazon. They're slowly kind of getting into their head the comicsgate model or the comicsgate concept, because they're not using the model. Comicsgate model is a network model of the visual medium of YouTube, where these people so far have stayed away from YouTube for a variety of reasons, and they're using podcasts, which just blows my tits off when they go, oh, we're going to have a podcast is audio only. There's no visual. We're going to have a podcast and talk about a visual medium. Why would you do that when YouTube is free? Anchor FM is, I see some of them on there and various other formats, but they're both free. YouTube is free. All you have to do is you could simply use a visual medium. If it's just something as simple as, oh, hey, look, there's the police report filed, or the incident report filed against Stephanie. Anything you can use to grab people's eyeballs for a minute. Podcasts you can play on in the background for sure, but like you're talking about comics, you're not talking about music or something, or literature or politics, which, comics, it very well lends itself to the visual medium. If you talk about comicsgate people, they're doing their stuff, and it's like, oh, here's a page I drew. Oh, here's an art auction. Yeah, because it's visual medium, and YouTube offers visuals for the same price as Anchor or various podcasts. It's free. Why didn't you take advantage of it? A lot of SJWs don't want interaction with the customer. They're scared of the customer, and a lot of them don't even like the customer, and they don't like interaction in general for some reason. So if you listen to nothing else, one, really respect the customer. Two, get rid of that old concept of publishing out of your mind. Though it's still a route to go, it's definitely not the only one, and it's not like, no matter what you do, you're selling a comic, it's going to be a lot of effort either way. So it's kind of, effort and reward like anything else, and the self-publishing concept. And then, three, you can go that route yourself. And three, I'll say this to SJWs on Twitter, is you got to stop this purity test gatekeeping of, you're not going to talk to anyone who's associated with someone who's associated with someone. That is not, I don't think that's working out for you. Because you look at these comic campaigns they have, it's like, I got $2,000. Okay. you probably want to try something else. Why don't you guys use YouTube? It's free. Oh, because we can't talk about anything because we're terrified to come out with the wrong opinion. Even if it's something as innocuous as a movie, if the left decides that the movie is it's owning the right wing, and you go, oh, I didn't like the movie either. Suddenly it's like, oh, yikes, my guy. Bad take. Wanderer's Choice on Odyssey says something like, that's what somebody says when they want to die. Anyway, so this has to be read backwards because it's archived for some reason. So Stephanie Cook says, if any comics people would like an invite to the Creative Resource Discord is just left wing cancer, get on Telegram. I'm trying to set out some invites. We have creators of all levels, journalists, convention workers, marketing people, agents, and more so, this is really open to a wide net of industry people. Okay, well, what are you missing there, friendo? Customers? You're missing customers. Imagine it's like somebody's playing guitar on stage and they're far removed from everybody versus somebody who's walking, has that little stage that goes out among the people and they're able to walk and play guitar or goes crowd surfing type of thing. You got to get out among the customers. And she was involved in the Whisper Network, and there's a long history of these people on the left-wing comic people who really see it as us versus them. Even when their customers are left-wing people also, they still have this weird, they want to remove themselves from the customers because they're terrified of any feedback. They're scared of a lot of stuff. We're on the right, we're just not. Oh, you guys are practically going to a Klan meeting and just saying the N-word nonstop. Like, I don't think you're familiar with. Someone on YouTube will do something where they'll make one joke, or even several jokes, to be fair, that it's slightly involves a group that's in SJW mind speak is a protected class, and they make a joke about mass deleting them because the joke is that's the joke is you're not going to humorously mass delete large groups of people. That it's hyperbole for, it's like this, the structure and the concept of doing something so horrible. It's a joke. The left doesn't understand that, and they can't do that kind of stuff. So they're kind of paralyzed where they're kind of in the background, always sniping at comicsgate when someone makes a joke about machine gunning people from a certain area of the world. And so they edit that out. They hate watch these shows and they edit these clips out and they pass around on Twitter. And Twitter's going to be, oh my gosh, Twitter already, Elon took it over, is getting just crazy with people trying to figure out okay, well, what are the new rules? If the right has free speech on Twitter, then, oh my gosh, you're going to hear the rain from outer space. Anyway, so these people, they have everyone in this Discord except for the customers. Anyway, comicsgate is not your enemy, and it's not a monolith. Respect the customers, and then bring the customers along for the ride. And I tell them on Twitter, occasionally I'll talk to them, and I'll say, listen, sales are 90% you and the entertainment and the vibe that you're creating, and 10% of the product, and that somewhat offends them. Because they think, I don't know what they think, it's all merit. It's yeah, the product has to be good, but you still have to get people interested in the product. And that's where the Comicsgate is so great. I say Comicsgate sells comics by not talking about comics. They just do an entertaining show and they have the comics on in the background. It's that's kind of the cost of admission. And there's a comic buying audience there also, but that's the cost of admission, is you're getting this entertainment for free. And so if you buy a couple comic books per year, it's that's a fair trade-off. You're watching, hours of Comicsgate shows per week. And it's oh, okay, I'll support a comic. And the left wing literally doesn't understand that. They still have this mindset of just giving the comic to the publisher, and the publisher does everything. The publisher looks at you oh, you only have 500 social media followers on Twitter. Why don't you build that up first? And it's oh, I have to be interesting. Well, yeah, if you're a writer, you should be interesting. You should be funny. You should be witty. The thing is, it's a challenge to be witty on the left because there's so many purity test spirals. But if you're an artist on the left, well, Twitter's a pretty decent social medium. Twitter, Tumblr, there's a bunch of other social mediums where you can put something up there. Like you could do political cartoons if you thought it was funny. It's like, even though it's going to be, I guess it's going to be a left wing, which is kind of alienating. I mean, who's that guy? G Prime 85, George, with the long unpronounceable Greek name. He does his political cartoons, which are funny, which shows his writing skill, and then it shows his artistic skill. It's like, you got to use the tools you have available, and all these social media platforms are free. And there's a lot of left wing Twitter who they just don't understand this. And I try to talk to them, and they're not as dicky as they were a few years ago. I think they're finally kind of realizing, like, oh, being a jerk on Twitter, like, because I'm talking to them, I go, like, listen, I'm assuming you want to sell your product. And like, I'm just trying to give you some advice to sell your product. Like, if you're happy with the way the sales are going, but I look at your Twitter account and I see you only have 500 followers and you've been on here a few years. I think you're doing something wrong, and you're going on podcasts with 3 people listening. Try something different. You know, it's just try something different. Oh, I couldn't possibly talk to those. I couldn't possibly go on YouTube. That's where the far right extremists are on Google's YouTube. Like, I think we have a different definition of far right extremists. Anyway, like, comment, subscribe. I'll see you guys on the next episode.